The city of Ridgemont did not sleep after the night Andre Keaton died. It shook like a living thing, streets breathing whispers, windows absorbing fear, and storm clouds gathering like the heavens themselves were disappointed. Something rotten had been torn open in the quiet American town that once boasted its model police force. Behind the badge, behind the flags and the polished speeches, there were shadows, and the people of Ridgemont could finally see them. Andre Keaton's death did not end the story. It opened it, and in the days following his killing, silence attempted to smother truth. But truth had found new breath. This part of the story isn't just about corruption. It's about awakening and wrath. Detective Evelyn Mercer did not sleep that night. The echo of the gunshot, the one that killed Andre, played behind her eyes like a broken film reel. She sat in her dimly lit kitchen, badge on the table, coffee untouched, hands wrapped around her head. She had seen men die. She had seen murders, accidents, suicides. But this was different. Andre Keaton had been executed. Quietly, methodically, in a prison cell that should have been the safest place in the world. She kept replaying it. The forced transfer, the missing logs, the sudden CCTV malfunction, the hollow press release claiming self-harm. None of it aligned. None of it felt like chaos. It felt arranged. Ridgemont PD had always been called the pride of the state, but Evelyn had worked long enough to know pride often hid filth. And that night, she made a choice, dangerous and irreversible. She whispered to herself, voice trembling, "I'm gonna find out who did this." Across town, Maya Keaton sat in her living room, surrounded by reporters, lawyers, and community leaders. But she barely heard any of them. Her hands shook as she held Andre's last letter, the one he had written from jail. The ink was smudged by her tears, but the message burned into her memory. Maya, hold strong. If anything happens to me, don't let them bury the truth. Her husband was a gentle man, an entrepreneur, mentor, youth advocate, a man who built a community center instead of buying luxury cars, a man who fixed broken lives instead of judging them. And they killed him. She stood up, sudden and fierce, silencing everyone. No more speeches, she said. No more waiting for justice. If the system won't fight for Andre, I will. Her voice crackled with something raw. We bring the storm to their doorstep. The morning sun had barely risen when a file dropped anonymously into the inboxes of 3 investigative journalists and 1 federal civil rights office. Subject: the Blue Veil Internal Evidence. Inside were footage of Andre's arrest, where officers planted evidence, audio of cops joking about shutting up loud black leaders, disciplinary reports for excessive force buried by supervisors, guard logs showing unauthorized entry into Andre's cell block, an internal email thread titled, "Keaton Situation Handled Quietly." Within hours, whispers became headlines. Evidence suggests wrongful death in Ridgemont PD custody. Chief Marlowe stood before the cameras, jaw tight, voice cold. These leaks are false. Coordinated attacks. Our department remains honorable, but people no longer believed him. Truth doesn't always roar. Sometimes it drips, slow, steady, poisoning lives from within. Evelyn Mercer sat across from Internal Affairs. But they weren't investigating Andre's death. They were investigating her. You access sealed files without authorization, the IA officer said. You spoke to reporters. Are you trying to bring this department down? Evelyn leaned forward. I'm trying to bring murderers down. The room froze. You think your badge protects you, she continued, voice low, trembling not with fear but fury. But it doesn't. Not anymore. The IA officer smirked. You're making mistakes, Mercer. Dangerous ones. People like you disappear in stories like this. She stared at him, meeting threat with threat. Then I'll make sure I disappear loud. She walked out. Her bridge to silence had burned. Protests surged. Not chaotic, not wild, but organized, disciplined, and relentless. Banners read, "Justice for Andre. Tear down the blue veil. If the law won't protect U.S., we protect U.S." Crowds flooded Ridgemont Square. Churches opened doors. Businesses closed in solidarity. And for the first time in a long time, fear flowed toward the police station rather than from it. Officers stood in riot gear, but no one threw bottles. No looting, no fire, just fury and truth. The calm terrified them more than chaos ever could. In a quiet meeting room deep inside Ridgemont PD, Chief Marlowe sat with Captain Ross Camden and two shadowed figures from the County Union Board. Camden clenched his jaw. The situation is a skeleton. People are treating Keaton like some martyr. Now, there's talk of federal oversight. Marlowe tapped the table, eyes frost-cold. Our mistake wasn't removing him. Our mistake was assuming silence. One of the union men whispered, "We warned you." The city wasn't ready for a black leader that influential. He was unifying people, not dividing them. That's dangerous. Marlowe's voice hardened. Then we ensure the investigation collapses. Another voice added, and the officer digging into it collapses with it. They spoke not like defenders of law, but custodians of power. But something else moved in the shadows now. Something they didn't expect. People, truth, and vengeance. At midnight, a masked figure uploaded a video. A simple digital voice spoke. The veil is falling. The screen cut to a montage. Officers laughing over body cam footage. Text planning to teach Andre a lesson. Bank transfers from local power brokers into union pockets. A security clip showing Camden entering the secure wing the night Andre died. No faces were shown, but the message was clear. You hunted a community leader. Now we hunt corruption. Hashtag Justice for Andre began trending across the country. Ridgemont had become a battleground, not of guns, but of truth and shadow. The first act of retaliation came quietly. Camden woke to find his truck torched, tires melted, windshield shattered. A single note taped to the door. Blood can't silence a voice forever. A week later, a district attorney who buried misconduct complaints found her house's locks superglued shut and her bank statements posted online, revealing lavish unexplained payments. Someone was picking targets carefully, not harming innocents, not using violence, yet striking with surgical psychological precision. A message spread through the police ranks like a fever. Someone out there knows everything. Fear infected those who once owned it. Late one night, Evelyn found a flash drive in her mailbox. No sender, just a card. For the truth you're risking everything for. Inside, confidential case notes on officers tied to Andre's harassment. Body cam metadata deletions. Payroll records showing paid silence bonuses. A direct order from Chief Marlowe to remove Andre from custody logs. Her breath hitched. She wasn't alone. Not everyone fighting for justice wore badges. Some wore masks. Some worked in basements. Some whispered through encrypted channels. The system had its army. So did truth. Officers gathered in the locker room. "We need to shut this down," Officer Larkin hissed. "They're coming after us like we're criminals." Officer Diaz whispered back, "What if we are?" Silence hit the room like gunfire. "We followed orders," someone muttered. "And a man died," Diaz replied. "A good man." Larkin slammed his locker. "No, a threat." You saw his rallies. He was turning the city against us. Diaz shook his head. No, he was turning the city against corruption. Around them, loyalties cracked. Not everyone in uniform was evil, but no one walked out untouched. By the second month, pressure from outside the state forced a grand jury hearing. Chief Marlowe entered the courthouse with lawyers and tinted glass swagger. Reporters hurled questions. "Chief, did you order the breach into Andre Keaton's cell? Are you linked to the suppression fund? Why did 4 officers resign overnight?" Marlowe smiled, forced and tight. No further comment. Inside, Evelyn sat calmly beside Maya and a federal prosecutor. She did not look at Marlowe. She stared through him. Witnesses testified. Documents were shown. Tears shed. Voices shook. One juror whispered afterward, "When you hear truth, you can't unhear it." The verdict came slow, but it came. Indictments, suspensions, seizure of police union funds. Federal monitors announced. Marlowe stripped a badge mid-press conference. Camden arrested, wrists pressed with cold steel he once placed on others. The department that silenced Andre Keaton was being dismantled, piece by rotting piece. Maya wept, not from grief this time, but release. Evelyn exhaled for the first time in months. Ridgemont trembled, not because of fear, but rebirth. But the story did not end here. Corruption doesn't die quietly. It remembers. It festers. It plots. And the vigilante network, the one that avenged Andre, did not disband. They whispered. Justice began. Now comes cleansing. Late one evening, in a quiet diner, Evelyn found a note slid across her table. It read, "You did your part. Now we finish ours." The blue lanterns. Before she could react, the messenger vanished. That night, 3 former officers who taunted Andre online disappeared. Their empty patrol medals were found nailed to wooden boards on their lawns. No blood, no bodies, just disappearance. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said the Blue Lanterns were activists. Some said ex-military. Others whispered they were ordinary citizens who had simply had enough. The truth? They were everyone and no one. And the city faced a new question. When justice awakens, who controls the fire? Maya held a press conference outside Ridgemont Hall. "To those avenging Andre," she said slowly, voice shaking with emotion, "I understand your anger. I feel it every time I remember what they did to him." She looked into the cameras, a storm behind her eyes. But Andre fought with dignity. Do not let justice turn into punishment. Do not become what we rose against. Then she lowered her voice, a whisper heard across America. "We won not by fear, but truth. Protect that victory." The city listened. Most did. Not all. Some wounds don't heal. They sharpen. Weeks later, Evelyn stood at Andre's grave, autumn leaves dancing in the cold wind. The city had begun reforms. Walls had fallen. She whispered, "They tried to bury you, Andre. They didn't know you were seed." Behind her, footsteps. Maya approached and stood silently beside her. "You gave him justice," Maya murmured. "No," Evelyn replied softly. "You gave him justice. I only followed it." Maya smiled faintly, but her eyes carried endless sorrow and steel. "You think this is the end?" she asked. Evelyn exhaled slowly. "No, this is chapter 1. Across Ridgemont, street murals rose. Not of vengeance, but resilience. Andre Keaton's face painted across brick walls, captioned, "Silence is a weapon. Truth is a revolution." But in a dim basement, lit only by screen glow, masked figures watch police trials, political hearings, cover-ups unraveling nationwide. One typed, "Ridgemont was the first." Another replied, "Justice is not a moment. It is a movement." Then the screen went black except for 3 words. Ridgemont did not return to normal. Normal was a disease. Instead, it rebuilt, brick by brick, truth by truth, a community forged in pain and rebirth. But in quiet corners of America, powerful men whispered, "If it happened there, it can happen here." And in louder corners, ordinary people whispered back, "Exactly." The story of Andre Keaton was no longer about one man. It was about a nation waking up, a veil lifted, a silence broken, and a warning carried by every soul who refuses to bow. Justice doesn't knock. It breaks in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more true crime story.